Hi everyone, and welcome to Cook with Janie Facebook Live today. And I have got a splendid old favorite recipe to share with you. I love tomatoes, and being in the garden in all this beautiful sunshine recently has actually made me want to do something fresh and vibrant and bright, and yet sometimes I still feel like having a soup. So what I'm doing today is my tasty tomato soup. Hi Denise, from my website. Hi John, and it's called Tasty Tomato Soup. It's on cookwithjanie.com, and it's really easy to do. And soups are not only super, but they're splendid. I really like soups in my Thermomix because it saves me so much time to make them in the Thermomix. It's such an easy way to do it, and I can show you now. So I'm going to get started in how much time saving you can do and enjoy while you're making a soup in the Thermomix. And also, soups can be really good for your health. So here we are with the Thermomix TM6, which I love, and I'm going to actually do our quick and easy sauteing. So I've actually done some shallots and onions here. I'm going to the scales, and I'm going to weigh in 100 grams of onions and shallots. So here they go. That's it. Must have had my finger weighing on the machine. It's so clever, weighing 1 gram at a time. Hi Sheila, nice to see your name popping up. And I'm adding my shallots, and if I need another bit of onion, oh, look at that, perfect. Here's my garlic, and then I'm also going to add 40 grams of olive oil. Could use butter, but today I'm going to make this soup as a vegetarian and vegan version. Hi Emma, nice to see your name coming up too. And here we are, 40 grams. Let's add that in. So just weigh it. You can see that the TM6 actually weighs 1 gram at a time, which is perfect. It's so nice and easy. And actually, I actually got exactly 40. Hi. Oh my gosh, the names are flying up. If I don't get to say hello to you individually while I'm weighing or adding ingredients or something, then please know you are all appreciated and welcome. And I'll say hi in the comments afterwards. So here we go. We have got our shallots and a bit of onion to make up my 100 grams. And I've got my olive oil, and I've got my garlic clove in. So I'm just going to say goodbye to the scales and back to our home screen. Oops, they came back again. There we are. And I'm just going to chop this. And I've got my recipe printed out here. You can print out the recipe if you want to. Hi, Sarah. And oh, you love a Thermomix soup? Absolutely. I think a lot of people do. And actually, back in the 1980s, I think that people used to call this a soup machine because it's so fabulous at making them beautifully. So what I've got here is I've got my recipe printed out from cookwithjanie.com, and I'm just going to check that I get it all right. So 7 seconds, speed 5 to chop the onions and garlic. You can hear that that's done very quickly. Radio. And then I'm going to saute that. So this is all my stirring done for me. Instead of having to stand at the stove and saute and stir and prevent them from browning, because I just want them softened. So here we go, 5 minutes. 5 minutes. And varoma temperature and speed 1. So there we are. In the meantime, I can prepare my potatoes or sweet potatoes, because that's what it says. So sometimes actually in recipes you can take advantage of the cooking and stirring, sauteing time to prepare some more ingredients. And that means that your time is very practically used. This soup only takes me about 5 minutes to put together of my time, and it's about 25 minutes or so, maybe 30, 35, depending on how many pauses I have between the steps. And then soup is done, lunch is ready, or your starter is ready for a dinner party. It's so easy to do. You can probably hear that lovely little sizzle happening already of the onions and shallots and garlic all beautifully sauteing, softening in that olive oil. So I know that there are several people who watch this who are vegetarian or vegan, so I've done that today. And I've got some sweet potato pieces. So I'll just show these to you. What I do when I peel and chop up sweet potato, because they go brown almost instantly on exposure to the air on peeling and chopping. So I pop them into some water with a bit of salt in them. And that keeps them, these have been here for about 20 or 30 minutes, and they're perfectly fine. They're not brown. So it's a really, really good tip. So there you go, you can see that there. And you can do that with your potatoes as well, because some potatoes have that ability to go brown. So I'm just going to pour that through the simmering basket there and give it a little rinse and hopefully not get my table too wet while I'm putting these back there. So they are now in my simmering basket. It's a really good colander actually. So remember that you've got extra parts in your Thermomix. So the Varoma dish and tray are both wonderful colanders as well. The next thing that I'm going to be doing is chopping up my tomatoes. And I got a really good deal. Hi, Rula. And I got a really good deal on beautiful organic ripe tomatoes. And I finished ripening them when I got them home on my sunny windowsill because it's been so beautifully sunny in the last few days. And then this morning I've just chopped them all up into quarters. Mine were fairly sort of medium size-ish, probably about 100 grams each-ish, but it doesn't matter how much they weigh each. What you want is you want to be able to use 500 grams of fresh tomatoes. If you're really lucky and you have some tomatoes quartered in your freezer, perhaps from your garden last year or the last time you got a bargain buy, then you can use those and just let them defrost as well. The redder your tomatoes, the redder your soup will be. And because I'm using sweet potatoes today, it might be a little hint of orange, but it doesn't really matter because the flavor is what counts with a soup. And you definitely get beautiful flavor and of course wonderful texture from a blended soup in your Thermomix, which you'll be able to see very shortly. So this is the reason that I decided that I wanted to do my tomatoes today. I've actually got little wee tomato plants that are about probably 25 centimeters tall, maybe, or actually no, 15 centimeters tall. And I've got some that are just ready to transplant into my garden because they're so tiny. I haven't put them out yet. And actually, I'm really glad I didn't put them out a couple of weeks ago when I was first thinking about it, because we did get that really, really cold, almost frosty night. And my poor old basil that I transplanted out when I actually did the Facebook Live on multiplying your ingredients called Beautiful Basil. You can find that in the videos on Cook with Janie on Facebook. My basil actually really struggled, and it's coming back because not all of it died. Luckily, some of the lower bits didn't die, and so I cut off the bits that went brown, and I can always buy another pot. This is Greek basil. And you can use ordinary Italian basil as well, or holy basil. You'll get slightly different flavors with those. You can use them for a garnish, or you can blend them into the soup at the end. I quite like them as a garnish because I love to have the fresh, vibrant flavor of basil on top of my bowl of soup, and it also looks beautiful. So now my onions and garlic, my shallots, are all sauteed beautifully in that olive oil. Lift off the lid carefully to let the drips go back down into your Thermomix as I showed you there. And I think you might be able to see that here. And that is, let's see if I can get the angle right so you can see it at the camera. You can see that they're beautifully softened. So what I'm going to do now is add my tomatoes. I've pre-weighed these, so I know it's 500 grams already. And you don't have to pre-weigh, of course, because you've got the built-in weighing scales with the Thermomix. And I'm just going to chop those for 10 seconds at speed 5. And it'll speed up slowly to speed 5 to chop those. Hi, Samantha. Really easy, and all of that little tiny chopping that you would have to do by hand, you don't have to bother with. So here we are. You can see on the lid of the Thermomix that those are chopped up nicely. And then I'm going to add my stock, which in this case for vegetarian vegan is actually water. So let's go to the scales here. Where you go? Do it with my other hand. There we are. And I'm just going to pour in 500 grams of water. Let's see here. Hopefully I've got the right amount in this jug. It's one of my favorite jugs. It's so pretty. Oh, 475. I think that's probably close enough. You can see how beautiful this little jug is. I really like it. So I'll pop that back there. And I'm going to add 2 heaped teaspoons of my homemade Thermomix veggie stock paste. And this one is made without any dairy, without any Parmesan. Lots of the recipes on Cookie Do call for Parmesan because it really boosts up the flavor. But if you are dairy-free or you're making it for somebody who's eating vegan, then feel free to leave it out and throw in a few more vegetables. Hi Matt, nice to see your name popping up. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to add a bunch of little ingredients. So I've got some salt, some pepper, a bit of sugar. You could use honey instead if you're not serving a vegan. And tomato paste, tomato puree, tomato concentrate it's called, the thick kind, and some pepper and a bit of balsamic vinegar. And the balsamic vinegar and the bit of sweetness both bring out the flavor of the tomatoes. So I'm just going to add that in here. It's all pre-done. And it's 50 grams of tomato concentrate, tomato paste, and a teaspoon of salt, a good grind of pepper, maybe 1/4 to 1/2 teaspoon if you're looking at it that way, 1/2 teaspoon of balsamic vinegar, and that's it. And the teaspoon of sugar or 3/4 teaspoon of honey. So now I'm just going to let that cook for 20 minutes and I'll show you the setting for that. 20 minutes. So here we go, 1920, and at 100 degrees and speed 1. So what you want to do at this point is you want to cook your soup until the potatoes are perfectly tender. Hi, Aniska. Because you need to make sure that your potatoes are cooked through to make sure that they are going to blend without going gluey. Sweet potatoes, it's not such an issue. For some reason, they don't have the same kind of starchy effect on the soup. So no problem with sweet potatoes. They should be cooked at the end of your 20 minutes. And remember, the diced potatoes they're cut in small pieces about 1 centimeter size or 1/2 inch if you're thinking in inches. So what I'm going to do now, because this is the point where you get to walk away, you get to do something else. Maybe you've made some scones ahead of time before you started your soup and they're baking in the oven. You can get those out of the oven and put them on the cooling rack perhaps. Or slice up some other bits and pieces, a nice loaf of homemade bread, and you can get that going all during that 20 minutes while your soup is cooking by itself. And here is my one that I did earlier. So I'm just changing the bowls here. and I'm just going to show you the next step after the cooking and ensuring that the potatoes are cooked properly is to blend it for a minute at speed 10. And that's what I've done. And so here we are. We have a beautiful tomato soup, and I shall lift this over here. Here's my lovely pottery bowl and a soup spoon, and I'm just going to lift up this, and I won't show you close up because it's too hot to come to the camera and tip the bowl, but I'll do this and you can see that gorgeous, gorgeous tomato soup, tasty tomato soup being poured into a bowl, and that is lovely for lunch. I do have a few beautiful little Greek basil leaves, and I'm just going to pop that little tiny bit on top to make it look lovely. And there we are. We've got tasty tomato soup garnished with a bit of fresh basil and made with only 5 minutes of your time, and the Thermomix has done the rest for you. It's a wonderful aid in making beautiful, delicious, super soups. And I hope you've been inspired by this recipe today. There are lots and lots of recipes for soups on Cookie Do, which is the Vorwerk recipe platform for Thermomix recipes. You'll find dozens, and I hope that you have some that you enjoy. What are your favorite soups? Let me know. That'd be great to hear, and delighted to inspire you with real food made easy. Thanks everyone for coming on today. Bye.